really a mission of major magnitude. I would even call it a mission of a decade in terms of its science questions, but also of its engineering, which we have achieved there. So in the name of ESA, I'm really happy, and I think I can speak for all Europeans. We can really be very proud of having this achieved. A last word is a thank you to my member states of the European Space Agency, because they make this possible. They are helping us defining the priorities, they are funding the priorities, and they make it possible. And as Director General of the European Space Agency, I'm very grateful to my member states for the continuous support to all these missions. And last but not least, a big thank you to CNES. We're being here on the Space Center in Kourou. CNES is providing the logistics and the security and many other elements, and is a very strong partner to ESA among the many other partners which we have, and I think we hand over to them one by one. So thank you from my side.
Thank you very much, Joseph. And as a matter of fact, as we are hosted on the French base, and Carole is representing Philippe Baptiste, the president of CNES, maybe you can say a few words in the name of CNES.
Yes, difficult to add something to what was said by Joseph, because he had said the most part of the things. I'm very proud also to be there with all of us. First, because it's really a common adventure. All together, we have made this incredible project. I am proud for that, because at French Space Agency, we have contributed to the instruments, some instruments of JUICE, and we are very proud of that. And also because Ariane 5 has put JUICE in the good road to Jupiter. And so I am also very proud of that. I would like perhaps not to be too technical, but perhaps to have some emotion. I was there in this room, and for me, and I think for all CNES people, it was really a fantastic emotion. It is a team which is not only French, which is not only from CNES, from all parts represented here and more again. And frankly, I would like to share this emotion with all of us.
We can hear in your voice, and I'm sure everybody's sharing this. The flawless flight, Stéphane, was the last one for ESA. How does that feel?
Yes, so we are now really at the very last milestones of Ariane 5. So it was the 116th Ariane 5 this morning, delivering perfectly one more time for an ESA scientific mission. You know that we were all together in Jupiter. We have done it for James Webb for Christmas 2021. A few years before, it was for Bepi Colombo in 2018. And today, Ariane 5 has made the job one more time. You know, the different orbital parameters are absolutely perfect, and absolutely they have absolutely targeted what was supposed to be targeted in terms of eccentricity, inclination, and semi-axis. So it's really one additional success for Ariane 5. And the last Ariane 5, and I want just to say it today, the last Ariane 5 will not be for ESA, nobody is perfect, but it will be for France and Germany, for Germany and France, two telecom satellites. And I think it's a wonderful symbol to have made this one with ESA and the very last for Germany and France.
Thank you for this. Of course, Airbus has watched this baby growing very carefully. Michael, what was your observation? I saw a big smile after the separation.
Yeah, not only a big smile, but also my goosebumps are only going down now. I have to say, as a personal and emotional remark, it was my first time here in Kourou to watch a launch here. I'm only in my job since 1.5 years about, and it really was almost a physical experience in terms of feeling the tension, feeling the relief, hearing the sound. There's something in the air that's hard to describe, and I think that I will carry with me. Now moving maybe more to the technical piece, and trying not to repeat everything that's already been said, but obviously, as Airbus, jointly with our industrial partners, with all the other partners that provided instruments and components, We built Juice. People have been working since 8 years on this, and they put their life blood, if you will, and their passions and their knowledge and their experience into this. So in that regard, it's already a success. Now we keep our fingers crossed for 8 years and assume it will be a success in 8 years as well. But experts will know that we're already also a shareholder of Ariane Group. And as such, it's a double success for me from an Airbus point of view, because the launch was just a perfect launch. It couldn't have been better, with some of the tension roller coasters that we had and a bit of color blindness that was exposed, but I think it was really, really a very successful day. And I want to thank our teams at Airbus. You guys did a marvelous job, and I'm really proud of you. And I'm proud of all the partners that helped us. Thank ESA, thank CNES for hosting us, thank the whole airspace and space community that made this possible. And in my job, being responsible for defense and space in Europe, you are not only an emotional animal, you're also always a political animal. And stepping one step back, for me, this is a great proof, a litmus test of what Europe can do when we pull together, when we all pursue the same targets, and we create success from diversity, and we are not working against each other. And I think in these times we need that more than ever. Thank you.
Beautiful introduction to this concept of Space Team Europe. It's we can feel the link. Now, just to close the loop with you, Carol, you just took office very recently as a new director of science at the European Space Agency. So, what is this first experience for you?
Well, Philip, thank you. It's a huge privilege that within few weeks of my post, I get to come to this huge launch. And I think, just echoing what colleagues have said, the emotional side is that we have launched this incredibly complex, groundbreaking mission for humanity. Now, it sounds very grand, but actually it really is. We are going to go to another world. We are going to study the potential for ocean worlds off our own planet Earth. And I think that really came across. And two things that really stood out to me, because yesterday we were all in this room for the same launch. There was a sense of excitement. We all knew the science. We knew what the mission was going to do. But I think we did not fully, viscerally understand how difficult space is. Space doesn't get easier. It's complicated. It needs incredible professionalism of all the teams. And when the weather postponed the launch, the disappointment was palpable. The disappointment we felt for our teams was palpable from our colleagues around the world. I had many messages when I got back to my room that night. And we watched the weather all the way through the night. I heard the rain lashing against my window. I heard the wind blowing. I was watching all of the telemetry coming from our teams who were working here overnight to repeat everything they had done meticulously, step by step, as they had done it 24 hours before. As if they hadn't done it, they had to do it all over again. And we came to breakfast, we saw the sun come out, and we were crossing our fingers. But I think what I felt in the room was that deeper appreciation of how very important this is, the teamwork that was required, and the immense tenacity. And when we felt the vibration of the rocket, that for me was overwhelming, but I had to hold it together because that was just the start. Then you start to see the data. Then you see the trajectory of the payload. You then start to see the separation. And then when we get the first signal, then you could see all of those milestones and share them with our member states, our scientists, our engineers, our project manager teams. And one of the leads of one of the instruments said to me at breakfast, she said, "I'm a control freak, this is my baby and I have no control, I've handed it over." And I said, well, you've put it in great hands. And we saw that yesterday. Everything was green, everything was perfect. The only thing we couldn't control was the weather. Today, the weather cooperated. And, I think, Stefan, congratulations to your teams. We saw the precision with which the rocket went up. And that, for this launch, is particularly important because we have to have that precision through all of the gravitational assists, all of the flybys we do, through past the Earth Moon, Venus, and out to Jupiter. Because we won't be able to deliver those science goals if you didn't do that job so beautifully today. So all the way along, there were milestones for me every minute. But at that human level, it's just incredible. But that we've done this together, as you said, Michael, that we've done this together. And it's been years of people's lives, and their families have lived that with them. Some people have been working on this concept for 20 years. Their children have grown up. And the future generation who will analyse the data that come from this mission are still in school today.
And this journey has just started. Now, you refer to the perfect injection of the satellite. Stefan, a question. You were here after the injection of James Webb Space Telescope with an Ariane 5. We learned afterwards that you gain lifetime of the satellite. How that launch on 25 of December 2021 with James Webb compares with this one?
As you said, I mean, this orbit is what we call an escape orbit, liberation orbit, and for this orbit, so you need to have the right orbital parameter, hyperbolic orbit, but also to juice the right speed. And you know, this speed when the mission is about is close to the separation is approximately 10 kilometers per second. So from what we know today, all these parameters are absolutely perfect. I cannot tell you whether we have increased some capacity of juice. Maybe some people here have the answer, but what I know is that we have perfectly delivered what we were supposed to deliver. And it's true that it's really one of the key success factors of Ariane 5, this level of precision. And it is, in the world, the most precise rocket. And I could even say by far, this rocket is at a level of precision which is part of its legend. And now Ariane 6 will do the same job.
So we're going to talk about Ariane 6 a little later, but I'd like to ask if any of the journalists in the room here has a question, and if anyone could bring a microphone to. Yes, please introduce yourself.
Yes, hello. My name is Bogumił Radomski. I'm from the Polish television, TVP Science. First of all, congratulations on a successful launch of our fascinating mission that's going to bring us many interesting answers about our solar system. The thing I wanted to ask is, well, obviously the target of JUICE is Jupiter and its moons, but it's going to pass by some pretty interesting places within our solar system on its way to Jupiter. So when can we expect some first data from the probe, and what exactly can they tell us about? Thank you very much.
Carol, maybe.
So I think probably one of the big milestones, apart from obviously the orbital dynamics, that's already interesting in its own case, because the swing by between the Earth and the Moon is a first for us. So we will have some interesting data there. I think for me the first flyby that really stands out is past Venus. And you may have heard in some of the briefings that the incredible temperature tolerances of the spacecraft. So when it goes past Venus, it will be something like 230 degrees Celsius. We have a mission that we're preparing that will be dedicated to Venus called Envision. And we also have a mission that's up there already called Bepi Colombo that has done a flyby. So we're already learning more about Venus than we ever expected to, given that we don't yet have a dedicated mission to Venus. So I think around about 2025, that will be a milestone for us. And then as we start to reach Jupiter, obviously we will orbit Jupiter first, then we will start to do the moons. We might get a hint of Io, and then Callisto, Ganymede and Europa are our main targets, and obviously Europa will be left for NASA to do because it's quite a different environment. So, but we'll do those three main moons.
Thank you. Looking forward.
It's a world of patience, but also of passion. Anyone else? Yes, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Laura Tobin from Good Morning Britain in the UK, and can I just also say congratulations, and for us watching it was incredibly emotional. I cried like a baby, I will say. And you talk about all of the first, and it's so exciting, but thinking a long way into the future, how long could it be that we could potentially bring samples back from Jupiter, which could potentially even prove that there is life outside Earth?
Joseph. Samples.
No, thank you. What you're addressing is actually a very crazy idea. And it's something that I have to put a caveat on it. It's not existing, and it's not a project, and it's not yet happening. But of course, in the space agency, we're always having the impossible dreams, and we see whether we can do the impossible. And yes, indeed, let's just assume and dream a bit. If we find through JUICE that the moons are habitable in principle for life, of course, everyone would ask the question, how do we get there, and how can we get such a probe? And yes, we have thought about this, and there are different ways of how you can do it. So you can launch a mission, and as you know, some of the moons, especially Europa and some Enceladus probably as well, they have these geysers which are throwing out vapor or water into the open atmosphere, into the universe. So you could fly with a mission through these geysers and just catch a sample and analyze it and see whether there's traces of life. Another way of doing this would be to have a mission that has a lander, lands on the surface, say, of Ganymede and of Europa, and takes a sample, a bucket of ice, in other words, and takes this bucket of ice back up to the satellite, brings it back to Earth, down through the atmosphere, and we analyze it. So this is, of course, fiction today, but certainly JUICE will point us the way whether this is something we might want to think of or not at all, but certainly something that is extremely fascinating. Maybe one last comment on this. Just imagine that this bucket of ice from an icy moon is analyzed and you find traces of life. Imagine. The first question you would have is, does it have a DNA? Or doesn't it have one? Does it have a DNA that is similar to ours? And if the answer is yes or no, this would answer a lot of questions, but again, raise another set of questions which are just so fascinating, and you cannot even imagine what this means for all of us. So yes, there's a lot of crazy ideas behind, but JUICE certainly will be a very important element to answer some of these questions.
How long do I need to live?
You probably will. You're very young, so you probably see it. But I think, realistically, even if we would start today with a sample return mission, realistically, it would not be before the 50s. Sometimes 50s is even optimistic.
Okay, so when I'm 21.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. We do have also some very valuable instruments from France there. Would you like to add something on the characteristic? Because this is a big dream when you're going to be 21, but we have made a step towards Jupiter to understand the Jovian system. Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yes, we have a lot of very valuable instruments on board JUICE. This is the main purpose, of course, it's to make science, to have some return to this long journey to Jupiter and its icy moon. For example, on the French side, we have an instrument named MAGIS, which is a Moon and Jupiter infrared spectrometer that will be able to analyze the icy crust, I don't know, crust, sorry for my English, of moons, and check if there are basic composition that can be sign the fact that it can be habitable. So this is very important. And we have other very important instruments where we can have a participation or not. For example, Janus, which is the imager made by Italian people. We have also HIME, which is also a radar that will go through the ice and will determine the composition of the ice. So we have a lot of wonderful instruments, in situ, geophysics, and so on, that will help us to answer to these questions that passionate you. And we perfectly understand that.
All of us.
All of us. Is it possible to have habitable worlds in our solar system first? Because it's more easy to go to Jupiter than in exoplanet first. And secondly, to have more knowing about how our system solar was done and how it can evolve and so on. And JUICE is really the first step to other questions, but this is absolutely necessary.
Great. I have a question from Simon there.
Hello, Simon Rosé from Radio France Internationale. The acquisition of Signal was in the expected window, but quite late in it, and it was quite stressful here on the ground. What happened, basically? Why was it so late?
Joseph, or do you have some answer for? We're talking about EOS here, and the time EOS was open at 52 and end at 30, so it lasts a few minutes before. Maybe Michael, you would like to inject answer? Mike,
yeah, as you said, we were still very much in the nominal window. Then I learned the nominal window would have been up to 39 minutes, so we're way in there. But yes, some of us were sort of looking at the watch and sort of saying it could have happened already, but it was in fact confirmed that the satellite was tumbling after the separation, and then it needs to stabilize itself and then can only acquire the signal or send out the signal and then get acquired, and that's what happened. And it happened actually with what was happening as planned.
Yes, I have made this job some years ago. I was in a control center at the French Space Agency, and I want to congratulate the people from ESOC. We have seen how calm and quiet they were. We were absolutely like this, but they were very calm, and I remember when I made this job, I was in the same place. And yes, I try to say to me, it's not the end of the window, but frankly speaking, yes, I agree that it was an incredible tension for all of us, but it was nominal, no problem.
Good. If there's no more question, any other question in the room? If not, maybe I see somebody very quiet there, Jean-Marc. So now the equipment is there, ready to go. What's next? What's coming up?
I'm starting to cool down, so I'm in better shape now. Just to answer your question, yes, the acquisition was in the window, but a bit later than expected. But the solar array deployment came earlier than expected because the sun acquisition was so precise that we could open the solar arrays ahead of schedule, which is a sign of a perfect mission. And of course, for us listening to this and sitting in that room waiting for this information, it's very stressful. But again, as you said, seeing the people in the control room very calm, and I was calling my team 70 times in the room saying, what's going on? So just wait, we are doing our job. Let us finish our job. I think it's a proof of professionalism at the highest level, and I think we can be proud for Europe to be able to do those kind of things. It's a premiere.
So what's next? What are the next phase with the instruments and the Juice?
Now we're traveling. We're traveling. So the spacecraft is under condition to travel. We'll do what we said on the Moon, Earth, and then Venus, and then to Jupiter. And for us, it's ESOC is in charge and will follow. They will call us at Airbus if there is a question, but I don't expect any question from them. The thing is en route, and it's perfectly set.
Lovely. Joseph, what's next for us in the launcher industry? You have now the last time you see with the ESA logo, the Ariane 5, which has been a very robust launcher over the past decades. Not a nice one before. Can you say us, how this launch today is building trust for the next phase?
Yeah, what we see here is really the fantastic launcher, Ariane 5. We have heard it so many times also by Stéphane, how precise this launcher is, and this is really a quality of Ariane 5. Space Webb Space Telescope gained a factor of 2.7 in terms of lifetime, so from 10 years expected lifetime to 27 years of lifetime, which is incredible, thanks to the rocket and thanks to the precision. And really big compliments to all the rocket people. That means Ariane Group, Ariane Space, Airbus, Safran, and CNES, and all the people who have been making this possible. So really, I feel a bit sad, to be honest, that this wonderful rocket is going out of service. There's one more launch, as we have just heard. But then, of course, we prepare for its successor, Ariane 6, which is on the right-hand side here. It will be an equally good launcher. We are working very hard and doing everything to get it on the launch pad as quick as we can. I cannot mention a date yet because we have to go through some decisive milestones in the next couple of weeks, but certainly we are on good track, and it will be a very, very good launcher. I'm very confident because I have seen the engineering, I've seen the ingenuity behind it. Europe is good when it puts its energy together, and I'm just looking forward to see it on the launch pad, and I hope we have a similar press conference here not too far in the future when we see the first flight of Ariane 6.
I'd love to do that and also celebrate. So let's go for a nice journey to Jupiter. Thanks to all of you. Thanks for not only what you're doing, leading the teams, being on the manufacturing side, the operation, all the equipment, the science community, and the institution. So thank you very much. Thank you, all the teams back in Europe. So this closes the press conference. Hope to see you for the next launch here. Thank you very much.
Allumage Vulcain. Allumage rapide décollage. La propulsion est nominale. La propulsion est nominale. Six, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top. Allumage Vulcain. Allumage rapide décollage. La propulsion est nominale. La propulsion est nominale. And then 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top. Allumage Vulcain. Allumage rapide décollage. La propulsion est nominale. La propulsion est nominale. And then 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top. Allumage Vulcain. Allumage rapide décollage. La propulsion est nominale. La propulsion est nominale. And then 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top. La propulsion est nominale. La propulsion est nominale.
And then
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top. Allumage Vulcain. Allumage